Hi there. I thought I'd just do a short video. I've been following some of the reporting about the Thirlwall Inquiry, which has started today. I've been following some of the Twitter posts and some of the reporting. I don't think it bodes too well, really, when it's the initial statements by Lady Thirlwall states that all the concerns that there are is she's termed it noise. That's the word she used, noise. I think that's very unhelpful, to say the least. I think had she been an honourable person, she would have said we need to postpone this and reset the terms of the inquiry to include. But she's sort of going by the book, as it were. And what is the book? The book is to protect the system. So she's not going to even consider whether there may not have been any, from her perspective, there may not have been any crimes. So she's going with the fact that she's stated that the Court of Appeal they've confirmed reality. The Court of Appeal have confirmed the reality that all these murders have taken place, which is completely the opposite of the truth, of course. But the truth does not matter to these people. Justice does not matter. Just the form, just the process. And she's been chosen to conduct this process, which is, I think, the establishment doing everything it can to seal the deal, as it were, to cover up, to try to put as many nails in the coffin as possible, so to speak. But on the plus side, I think it's going to reveal things, and it already is revealing things, which will be useful for the CCRC application that Mark McDonald KC will be bringing, and possibly also for the application for leave to appeal in terms of the recent conviction for attempted murder in respect of baby Kay that happened this June. So yeah, it's a very mixed bag, but I don't believe that it wants to get anywhere near the truth. It's precisely what it does not want to do. But it may inadvertently reveal truths, may inadvertently bring out some very useful information. There's some kind of mixed reports from various sources that see, when they talk about the period in question, they take this very artificial slice of time that they've just chosen, that the police and the consultants and Evans and everyone's and the CPS have just chosen this slice of time between June 2015 and June 2016. So this year, 13-month period. Why you don't choose the whole 2 years? Why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Anyway, that being as it may, there's some mixed reports in that there was an original claim, and I think it came out through one of the Daily Mail, Liz Hull effigies, awful, dreadful podcasts. But nonetheless, same principle applies here. They let things are revealed. That I think it was revealed that, or tentatively revealed that the other deaths, I think the figure was 7, I believe, that Lucy was not charged with across this selected period of time. 6 or 7. It's very hard to give a number, as I've said, because we don't know how many deaths there were in that period. We don't know, because some deaths that ended up as murder charges aren't showing on the Freedom of Information request. So ballpark figure 6 or 7 deaths they're talking about were then ascribed to sort of explainable, expected, natural means, 4 of which were, I think, from memory now, 4 of which were deemed due to sepsis. And now, I've heard something today, I've seen something today which suggests that actually some of those deaths were originally thought of as suspicious in relation to Lucy Letby, but for some reason they suddenly became explainable. So you can see just another aspect of how reality can just be shifted and changed when it's useful to the prosecution or the police case or the consultant's agenda to get Lucy Letby off the unit, which is all they really wanted to do. Had she stayed off the unit, there would never have been a case. As I've said many times, and I absolutely believe that. Never would have heard anything about this. Never would have heard anything about it. Just would have heard some payouts for some medical negligence cases starting in 2017. You know, maybe a couple of years down the road you would have heard of that. Wouldn't have heard about anything to do with murders had Lucy Letby left the trust. Not at all. Not at all. So there's that aspect. There was something else I was going to mention. So it's just another example of that. Oh yes, and it came up. I think it must have been today at the Thirlwall Inquiry, so called. That originally the doctors, now who the doctors were or whomsoever the doctors were, that saw the very high readings on these immunoassay tests for the babies, the so-called smoking gun insulin cases, that they, at the time, they didn't follow them up. Because why? They didn't follow them up because they thought, well, the test is obviously wrong because the babies have been discharged and they're absolutely fine. So they thought, well, the tests are wrong. But later, when they're looking to solidify and make a murderer, to create the criminal, then suddenly what they so blithely decided were completely unreliable tests now become set in stone and absolutely reliable, and then used in that 10-month trial to convict Lucy Letby. You see how malleable, how plastic, how changeable and alterable the terms of reference are, the so-called facts are, to suit an agenda, to suit a purpose at different points in time. At different points in time. This is one of the most hideous miscarriages of justice there's ever been. And as somebody, I can't remember the name on Twitter, I had a bit of a back and forth, in a good way, that they were saying, you know, and I agreed with them fully, is that the worse the, in quotes now, mistake, the more badly they've got it wrong, you know, or just they've been caught out, because there's been a lot of people with critical thinking and experience, a lot of people like you know, with required backgrounds to analyse the so-called medical and scientific evidence, you know, and run a coach and horses through it all and trash it basically bit by bit, as Michael Conville's doing, and Dr. Scott McLachlan and so many others. I've lost my thread. What was I saying? I can't remember. It was a thread of something. I'll have to think a minute. I've just remembered. It was the back and forth with a chap on, I think it's a chap, on Twitter, in which we're saying the worse it is, the more they won't want to rectify it, the more obvious it's a miscarriage of justice, showing how bad, what a basket case, what a sinister, dark, vile basket case that criminal justice system is, and the police procedures are, and aspects of the NHS, obviously, and certainly the characters of those consultants, and the complete fraudulent nature of the narcissistic psychopath, Dewey Evans, and the corruption, the deep corruption of Goss, the judge. The worse it is, they're not, you know, you'd think, conversely, you'd think, oh God, we've got to sort this out, we've got to rectify this is awful, people are going to think we're terrible, we've got to put our hands up for this one, it's so terrible. No, it works the other way. And that's what this chap was saying. The worse they've done, and it's not a mistake, the more wicked their behaviour, the more sinister and corrupt and wicked their behaviour to reach this utterly unjust and wicked end of putting an innocent person in prison for life, the more they want to double down on it, triple down on it, quadruple down on it, and ensure that it perpetuates forever if they could. Forever if they could. I mentioned it many times about Lord Denning, you know, in the Birmingham Six. That's an exemplar of what their mindsets are. So these people are not good people. They've got no interest in the truth or justice, or the whole cadre of them around this case. And obviously the police haven't. They don't care. They don't care. They just care that they got someone, even though there's no crimes. They got someone. That's how shallow it is. That's how dark it is. As no doubt the witch-finders were very happy with their day's work when they sentenced X number of witches to death by hanging or whatever other form or of a punishment. They didn't really care. They didn't go and think, "Oh God, I wonder if she was a witch," even though. And there is an interesting corollary with that, because clearly that was a phantasm, the idea that they were witches anyway. And it's a phantasm based on malice, mind you. It's a phantasm, a series of phantasms, that Lucy Letby had committed these crimes, and there were no crimes. So there's a lot of corollaries between the dynamics of the witch hunters of centuries gone by. But they're still here. They're still here in other forms. And they're waiting to rise up through the cracks. And the people with various personality disorders that are being given positions of power in the police, as these so-called experts, as prosecutors, as the CPS, as I think personally already this Thirlwall character, they're there. They're all there to play that part, to create that same dynamic, to create that same story that would have occurred and rolled out as in Salem in the 1600s in America and various places across Europe in the witch craze years, so-called. You know, I think it was particularly bad in Germany, but certainly there was a lot going on in Britain as well, wasn't there, in Scotland? Not so much in Wales, I don't think, but from memory, you know, looking at some writings about that, but across all of Europe, really. It was contagious, you know. But the same dynamic is always there waiting to come up, and it'll have a new kind of dress around it, it'll have a new clothes, as it were, but you can feel and see and sense it, and you can taste it almost, and it's the taste of evil, and it's the smell of evil, because that's what they've done. That's what they've done, and they don't want to rectify that evil because it shows all their faults, doesn't it? All the agencies involved and the individuals involved. It reveals them to be absolutely awful, absolutely deplorable in every sense, and there's a lot of them. So they'd rather keep it as it is. But back to some positive is that I think, despite its obvious purpose, which is to protect the establishment, this Thirlwall Inquiry hopefully will reveal more useful material, more useful statements that Mark MacDonald KC can capitalise on as well and use those, and the fact that they're in the public arena as well can engender further discussion, further debates and further analysis, because we're all open to analysing this now, and why should we not be? You know, why should we not be? Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.